Happening now on Grid Tonight. Michael Andretti is making a huge change with the ownership of his Andretti Global team. Why is he taking a step back, and what does it mean for his Formula One ambitions? Danny Ricciardo is out of Formula One as Liam Lawson takes his seat. Did Red Bull do Ricciardo dirty? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Cubby Lambert, and with me are Joshua Birch, Megan Birch. Thank you so much for filling in on such short notice. And we have Matthew Owens from the Ultimate Sports Radio Network later on. And if my voice sounds funny, I'm actually battling a cold. Woke up this morning, throat started hurting, and have been feeling pretty crappy all day. So I'm going to do my very best to make it through tonight's show. And we definitely encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening. I guess we'll call this the Birch Hour.
Yeah, may as well. I've dragged Megan in very last second to get in.
Very.
Kobe, I hope you're feeling better, so you can take a rest for a minute or two as well. Megan's with us for the first few stories. It is in a major bombshell that broke at the end of last weekend. Sportico first reported that Michael Andretti plans to give up his ownership stake at Andretti Global. Now, this comes less than a year after Group 1001 CEO Dan Towdress bought a stake in the ownership group at Andretti Global. Now, a news story that has sent shockwaves across the motorsport world. The team sent a statement to Sportico explaining that Michael Andretti is transitioning to a more strategic role with the team and stepping away from day-to-day operations. Now, at the end of that statement, Andretti Global promised to share more news in the coming weeks. Oddly enough, Sportico is owned by the Penske Media Corporation, which is owned by Roger Penske's son, Jay Penske. Jay Penske, of course, is in Formula E. Roger, of course, owns IndyCar. Now, in an interview with Jenna Fryer from the Associated Press, Michael Andretti put two rumors to bed. He said his business partner, Dan Towers, didn't take Andretti Global away from him, and Penske Entertainment didn't force him out of the ownership after openly criticizing Roger Penske's ownership of the Entity IndyCar series. Now, Andretti admitted that this has been in the works for several months now and felt the timing was right for him to take a step back. Both Sportico and AP articles are in the video description below, and the photo taken by Paul Hurley from Penske Entertainment. Megan, you were questioning me when I was reading out that part of the script. So before I answer the question, what were you grinning about?
It sounds like there's something more to this. I mean, so many other names getting involved in that one particular thing. There's something more to that.
Yeah, there is something.
They're not saying it, and they probably never will say it. This probably won't come out until like 20 years from now, like it usually does in like a book or something. But there's something more to that decision there.
Do you reckon that, even though they've denied that he was being sort of forced out,
if someone has to deny it, then
there's a rumor to the fans.
Yeah, it's got some credit to it.
But like in our second story, we're going on to about Danny Ricciardo and news around the Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah, it did. But what with Michael Andretti now confirming this story that he is departing day-to-day roles, what does it mean for Andretti Global as a whole across their multiple racing networks? Of course, in IndyCar, they've got it in Formula E, they're coming into Formula One, they've got One Endurance, with IMSA Techniques. What do you think is now going to be their big goal, losing their main head honcho?
Well, I think it'll give them a lot more opportunities, and I think that it'll also give a lot more opportunity to explore the F1 opportunity they've been looking at for a couple of years now, I feel.
Yeah, the new base in Silverstone might also help the fact as well, because the reconstructioning going on now at Andretti's Global's ownership also brings into question the future, as Megan said, of its Formula One ambitions with Cadillac. Now, we know that F1 kind of stonewalled Andretti and essentially blocked them from entering Formula One. Then they responded in an aggressive way by having Mario Andretti go to Congress and ask them to investigate the owners of Formula One Liberty Media. In August, we learned that the US Department of Justice opened an investigation into Liberty Media for potentially violating antitrust law by blocking Andretti's entry onto the grid. Megan, just before I get into that, you're studying law and you're very much into it as well.
I studied
law. Studied law, I must admit, as well. But in your
I decree.
experience, would there be a case there that it was right for Mario Andretti to go to Congress and say, look, this is a bit wrong?
American and British law are very, very different, vastly. But from my understanding of American law, there might be a tiny case about that. But from my very weak understanding, no one come at me for this because I know British law. I do not know American law. I know a tiny bit of American law. But I think there is a slight case, but for some reason, I'm not sure. My gut tells me it would not hold up.
Yeah. So it's just a shouty thing to make the Farm and Liberty Media go, oh, okay, they're trying to do this.
It's like pay attention to me, otherwise we will find more stuff on you. Because there is more stuff.
Definitely the Liberty Media coming involved as well.
There's always more stuff.
Yeah, well, Mario Andretti even said that Liberty Media CEO Greg Maffei promised to do everything in his power to make sure Andretti never got into Formula One. With that critical statement that Mario has said, that the Liberty Media CEO has said to him and promised his power to never get into Formula One, is that something that you can use in the world of law if it's just a verbal communication, that it's nothing that's been recorded, it's nothing been documented, it's just hearsay?
If it's been documented, then yes, that can be used in a court of law. But
Verbal?
if it's hearsay, it'll be dismissed.
Okay.
Because you've got no proof of it. There's no admissible evidence.
The basis of Amber Heard's trial suddenly
Yes.
refers back to my mind as well. Now, according to the AP article that is in the video description, Andretti and Taoist didn't discuss what the ownership shakeup means for their F1 ambitions. Taoist said he doesn't see himself running day-to-day operations at Andretti Global and will likely keep the current leadership team in place. Now, that leaves the question, if Michael Andretti is taking a step back from day-to-day operations at Taoist, isn't going to do it, then who will? Interestingly enough, Jenny Fry shared a legal document showing that someone named Zachary C. Brown resigned from his position on the board of directors at Andretti as well. Now that is McLaren CEO Zach Brown. So where did that come from? But coming in, because that broke.
Is he just collecting teams now?
He's collecting teams, he's collecting drivers, he's everywhere, but
he's just in competition with Lawrence Stroll, just saying, like, do you know what? I can have two.
But could, as you've not my microphone there, could that, is my mic, is mine still on? I just had to check.
If not, you can have mine.
I think you've had, no, mine's still on. I don't know if it was. No.
Hello?
Mine's dead. She's broke my microphone. She's broken my microphone. I don't believe that. So I'm going to have to borrow yours. You've literally, check. Yeah, you broke the lead.
Hello?
She's broken the lead. Okay.
All I did was slightly.
Well, Megan's broken the lead, so I'm now down to one. It's a good thing you're going in a minute, so I'll have to share, Mike. But is it a thing now for Zach Brown, who has now really had his fingers in two pies, because he's head of CEO of McLaren, of course. He runs that package, but now he's also been involved with Andretti, and could have been around the time when they had their bid going in. So would Farm kind of look at that and go, Zach, you might be a bit dodgy there with what he's done?
Yes.
Just a bit.
Just yes. They're going to look at that and think it's like, that doesn't look totally normal. Just like, there's another page to be turned.
She's buying me a new lead, by the way, after this. So could the change at the top of Andretti Global convince Formula One to let them onto the grid? Now, that's assuming, of course, that Andretti still want to come into the pinnacle of motorsport. Would you see them getting onto the grid eventually?
Yes.
Oh, when? 2026 or 2028?
My mind says 8. Just let the other let at least one team die down a lot first. And I think we all know that team will probably be Sauber.
Or Alpine, as it comes into it as well. Now my microphone started working again, so that's good news.
It just needed time to recuperate.
It needed you to stay away from it as well, from hitting it as well.
I don't have to buy you a new lead.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll keep on to that. We've got another segment to go yet. Now, moving on to our second story of the evening, and something that you're very much going to be more interested in as well. This is why we prefer single streams, because then she's not here to break my mind.
And basically chaos.
You are, yes. Now, following an emotional Singapore Grand Prix, Red Bull has decided to remove Daniel Ricciardo from his Formula One race seat with the Visa Cash App RB team. Now, when Ricciardo made his return to the Formula One Red Bull family this year, he had hoped for a magical return to Red Bull to potentially replace the struggling Sergio Perez alongside Max Verstappen. Now, while Perez has continued to struggle, Ricciardo has endured his share of struggles as well, with RB teammate Yuki Tsunoda getting the best of him on track. If Ricciardo was struggling to meet expectations in the RB, then he clearly wasn't ready to get promoted back to Red Bull. With one of its young junior drivers waiting in the rings, Red Bull felt that it was time to move on from Ricciardo altogether. In a statement on social media, Ricciardo said he's loved the sport his whole life and thanks everyone for all the memories, including the highs and the lows. On the F1 Nation podcast, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner revealed that Helmut Marko was ready to move on from Ricciardo after the Spanish Grand Prix. But as we saw, Ricciardo got more time to prove himself until patience ran out. If that was his final Grand Prix, he went out with the fastest lap in Singapore as well. Visa Cash App RB has said as well, with their team principal Lauren Meekis, everyone here at VCARB would like to thank Daniel for his hard work across the last 2 seasons with us. Daniel has been a true gentleman both on and off the track and never without that smile. He will be missed, but will also hold a special place within the Red Bull family. I have no idea what my microphone is even... I have no idea what my microphone's even doing, if it's on or off anymore. So I don't know.
I think there's a loose connection.
Yeah, there's some form of loose connection. So we'll share this as well going through. But Megan, from a performance standpoint, was it time for Ricciardo to lose his seat? And how do you feel about Red Bull's handling of the departure?
I think, yes, it was time for Ricciardo to lose his seat because, honestly, Liam's deserved it for a while now. And their handling of it, I think it's pretty on brand, to be honest, with them. I mean, in the past 2 years alone, they have had 4 drivers now, 6 different times. So this is not at all surprising. Most of those changes have happened last season, not this season, but last. So this is not at all surprising for me with all of this. I mean, I could see it coming a mile off. I think so could everyone else. I think Danny Rick could see it coming a mile off. I think he could see it happening from Miami, to be honest.
Yes, because at the Spanish Grand Prix as well, as early as then, Helmut Marko wanted to get rid of him, as we said, and he wrote a message on the back of his helmet that we spotted in the commentary box.
Was it the word bye?
No, it was not without a fight. Clearly the fight was lost.
Yeah, clearly it was a very short one.
Cynical. You are cynical. But with Red Bull losing his seat, with Ricciardo losing his seat at Visa Cash App RB.
Is it to Andretti?
No, it's to Liam Lawson has been promoted to the full-time race seat alongside Tsunoda. Lawson will run the final 6 Grand Prix weekends of the 2024 season. Last year when Ricciardo was out with an injury, Lawson drove for the team in 5 races and impressed many people after he finished in the points in Singapore. Now, after spending last year in Super Formula and this year as RB's reserve driver, Lawson's patience has been rewarded with an F1 seat, and both graphics in this section are courtesy of the Visa Cash App RB team. Before I answer the question, you want to say something?
Yeah, I've just noticed that this season has just been the season where all the drivers just get kicked out for the new ones if they're not doing well enough. So I think Perez is very, very scared right now.
Well, there is still a rumour that Perez is going to have a press conference after the Mexico City Grand Prix as well.
He's a goner then.
Probably is a goner. And I'll put Yuki Tsunoda in there as well. But how confident are you that Lawson will perform well enough to make Red Bull consider replacing Perez with him in 2025? Or is there somebody else that you would put into that Red Bull to replace Perez if Lawson isn't ready yet?
I'd give Lawson at least a year in that seat. I would just put Yuki in it because Yuki has been waiting for that seat for ages. I think he deserves a good chance at it. I mean, he's a great driver. I mean, he really deserves that chance at it. But if it wasn't Yuki, then I think...
Well, go on, make a prediction. Pick someone up from random on the circuit.
Since we're not so sure about where his seat is, I wouldn't mind seeing Franco Colapinto there.
I think he's done enough to sort of impress, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got that killer instinct, and we
He
were
does.
doubting him going into Formula One.
I mean, he terrified Albon going round turn 1. I mean, and that's an ex-Red Bull driver. I mean, they're going to be like, do you know what? That's not a bad thing. I mean, he terrifies the drivers.
Galopinto was part of the Red Bull driver program before getting snapped up by Williams as well. Another one that I would consider on the F1 grid, Kevin Magnussen into the RB slot.
It would be so interesting.
People are going to know because I put Yuki in the Red Bull and I put.
I was going to say Yuki and Kevin together. That would be
Yuki into the Red Bull seat and then Magnussen alongside Lawson, and let Magnussen have a good farewell in a decent car.
Let Lawson learn how to destroy every car.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if my mic. I'm having to hold my mic really hard now.
I think there must be a loose connection.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you, Megan. We can now disappear from you from this
I'm
project.
done destroying your mics. Here you go.
Thank you. I can take over that microphone now, and Megan can disappear. Thank you, Megan. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Megan's on the F1 Academy with Jess Ball as well, our colleague here on Grid Network as well. So Megan's disappeared. I can now have a one handheld mic back. And let's move on to our third story of the evening and welcome in Matthew Owens, who's here alongside me as well, getting ready. So I'll start the topic and he'll come in to talk about it. Hello, Matthew. Waiting in. Nice to see you. Now, in a stunning development in the NASCAR charter system saga, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports have filed a lawsuit against NASCAR. Now, in this antitrust lawsuit, both teams accuse NASCAR of being monopolistic bullies. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports were the only two teams who didn't sign the new charter agreement because they didn't think it was fair. Now they've decided to take the issue to the courtroom because they feel they need to stand up to NASCAR. Both teams hired a highly respected antitrust lawyer, Jeffrey Kelser, and to handle the case, who has a strong reputation for getting victories in cases like this. 2311 have said as well, in a joint statement coming out here as well, that, first of all, 2311, that is that all together? Yeah, it's a joint statement from the two. So we share a passion for racing, the thrill of competition and winning. Off the racing track, we share the belief that change is necessary for the sport we love. Together, we brought this antitrust case so that racing can thrive and become a more competitive and fair sport in ways that will benefit teams, drivers, sponsors, and most importantly, fans. Everyone knows that I have always been a fierce competitor, and that will to win is what drives me and the entire 2311 team each week and every week out on the track. I love the sport of racing and the passion of our fans. But the way NASCAR is run today is unfair to teams, drivers, sponsors, and fans. Today's action shows I'm willing to fight for a competitive market where everybody wins. Certainly a very dramatic post as well, because coming with all this going on right now, it makes you wonder how Denny Hamlin, who co-owns 2311 Racing, and Tyler Reddick, who drives for the team, is handling the playoff as well, given all the turmoil on track. Now, it's hard to imagine that they can all give their focus towards making the next round of the playoffs with all of this drama going on. Hamlin has posted as well coming on. Very surprising admission from Denny while answering Jeff Gluck's question, saying, I'm not in it mentally. I can tell you that. There's a lot of wires crossed and bolts loose at the moment, but what can you do? I'll just do the best I can, drive the car and do my part. Matthew's here with this bit as well. So then, Matthew, do you see this lawsuit being a major distraction to Hamlin and Reddick's playoff efforts? And what is your take on all of this mess that we've got going on tonight?
Well, hi, Josh, and thank you for having me for a story that is just ridiculous. Do I think that this will distract Denny Hamlin in the playoffs? Why wouldn't it? He's always distracted in the playoffs. Denny Hamlin, once again, has found himself a way to be mad at something and to not be mentally in it for the playoffs. Why am I not surprised? He never is. That's why he's never won one of these things, despite being one of the most talented drivers and one of the winningest drivers in NASCAR history. Once again, he's his own worst enemy. Just to hear him say that he's not in it mentally, it's a very striking comment. It's just really befuddling to me. I understand he has a big part in this 23-11 team as a co-owner, but at the same time, his job is also to drive the Joe Gibbs Racing number 11 as best he can every single week and to compete for race wins and championships, which he's always competing for, but he's never winning. It just continues his long, wild saga to race for one of these championships and somehow not winning it. That's first and foremost. If it's affecting him, I imagine it's affecting Tyler Reddick. He was terrible on Sunday at Kansas in a race where the race that he won at last year, he's below the cut line in 4 races now into the playoffs. He's below the cut line as the regular season champion. So I guess it's affecting him too. As far as just this overall chaos, I'm just so frustrated. I'm just so frustrated by it. And I'm going to come out and say right away, I know nothing about the legality of all of this. I'm not a legal expert in any way possible.
I'll get Megan back. It's all right.
yeah, thank you. But it's just, this is beyond frustrating because you know, and I'm sure a lot of people are the same. I'm a fan of all of these different sports. I'm a hockey fan, football, basketball, and so on. And we've dealt with issues between owners and players in other professional sports. And anytime they start talking about lockouts and all of that, it's just, I don't care what the players are making. I don't care what the owners are making. Just get it done. That's what I feel. I'm sure that's what the majority, 90, 95% of people feel in situations like that with professional sports leagues. Just get it done. Do not do this lockout, the cowardly lockout, and ultimately hurt your fans and everything else about your sport. I have similar feelings here. Listen, never do I want to say, or do I want to devalue about the money that is being made by anyone in their lives. We all make different amounts of money in our lives, and a dollar is more valuable to some than others. I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for NASCAR Cup Series drivers or NASCAR Cup Series owners. They're not digging in the corners of their couches looking for pennies and quarters to pay for their groceries. I'm sorry, they're just not. I'm not going to sit here and feel bad about it. I don't know what that makes me, but I'm just not. So just get it done. Put all of the stuff aside. I was about to say a bad word, sorry. Put all of that stuff aside, swallow your pride, and just get the job done. Because this is bad for everybody. It's bad to have the dirty laundry aired out for everyone to look at, for you to look like idiots, for you to look like spoiled, greedy fools. And it's just, that's what frustrates me the most. And honestly, from the 23-11 and the Front Row Motorsports side of it, you know, apparently this was good enough for 13 other teams to sign. Was it exactly what they wanted? No. But very few times in cases like this do owners or sports franchises get exactly what they want. But it was good enough for 13 other teams to sign. It was good enough for the people at Hendrick Motorsports and Team Penske and Joe Gibbs Racing, the giants of the sport, to sign. Apparently, it's not good enough for these two. Okay, that's fine. But at the end of the day, and we have seen this for decades in NASCAR, everything gets played on NASCAR's court, and NASCAR brings the ball. Going to have to play by NASCAR's rules. It feels pretty simple to me on that. If you want to take them to court, good luck. I've already forgotten what the lawyer's name is. What's the lawyer's name that's representing FRM in 23-11? Anyway.
Jeffrey Kelser.
Thank you. So I heard him earlier today. He was on with Dave Moody on Sirius XM NASCAR radio, and I was listening to him earlier, and he was, of course, making his case for the people that he's defending. And he brought up that NASCAR has monopolistic tendencies and that they don't allow for a competitive atmosphere with stock car racing because NASCAR is the only premier stock car racing sanctioning body in the world. Okay, yeah, that is true. And there are rules set in place for companies to not have a monopoly of something. Okay, great. Then he brings up the case, we don't know if other competitors in stock car racing would make NASCAR better. Well, stop right there. Stop right there. And let me say, thank God we've never had to find out. Because if we learned anything from the CART and the IRL split, there's someone calling me. He's probably calling me right now, Kessler or whatever his name is, calling me right now to explain itself. But if we've learned anything from the CART and IRL split, is that it helps absolutely nobody. It just doesn't. It splits teams, it splits the fan base, it splits the sport, it splits everything. So why he would even bring that up is beyond me. Why would we want to know what a world would look like with a competitor to NASCAR in stock car racing? I don't want to know that world. Just don't. So I don't think that helps his case at all. Then he went on in talking to Dave Moody, talking about the beaten spouse theory about how, why did Roger Penske sign on this? And why did Rick Hendricks sign off? And Joe Gibbs sign off? And all of these other teams, why did they sign off on the charter agreement to begin with? And he said, with this beaten spouse theory of once the bully continues to beat down on whoever else, but then the cops get called and they check on them, and then all of a sudden the spouse says, oh, I'm fine, I'll live. Are you kidding me? This is Roger Penske. This is Rick Hendrick. This is Joe Gibbs. They're not going to give in just because they're done with it. Okay? As I said, it was good enough for 13 other teams to sign. It's pretty clear that, as I said earlier, it's NASCAR's court. They bring the ball. You have to play by their rules. I'm really just done with it. I'm quite disgusted with all of it. And this probably will not end well for much of anyone, because this is going to carry on for months, Josh, if not years. This is not going to be decided by the end of October. We're not going to have a decision by Halloween. Enough already. Already. Enough of it. Get it done.
So, out of interest then, because I have seen a couple of people who have, well, I don't want to say be negative Nellies, but are, and have said, I'm doing a little bit of rumor that maybe those cars, the 2311s and the Front Wheel Motorsports cars, won't pass scrutineering this week for Talladega, or something will be wrong. Or would NASCAR really be that petty? I mean, would they be petty to sort of go like, okay, you're going to have a go at us, we'll make your life hell? Would they really do that? I mean, we've seen on-track rivalries, but would the governing body get involved in that?
Does that happen in everyday life, Josh? Does that happen in everyday big company political and legal wars? Yeah,
I would say so.
Probably will happen.
I would.
If that's how NASCAR chooses to go about it, again, I'll just repeat one more time. They supply the court, they supply the ball. Play by their rules. If you're going to go at them, be ready for the ramifications.
Yeah, we saw that first part of the letter that got sent out, didn't we, as well? That raised a few eyebrows when it all got kicked off. We'll be bringing you round-the-clock news on this and as it develops, as we do here on the Grid Tonight show. Matthew, thank you very much for your company this evening as well, and stepping in at the last second. And hopefully, we're going to now hand over to Kobe Lambeth. Hopefully, he's been feeling better over the last half an hour because he's filling in for Matt White tonight on the latest of our Grid EPI update. Kobe, I really hope you're feeling better. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Josh. I'm feeling a little bit better, but still feeling under the weather. And thank you once again, Matthew, for filling in tonight on such short notice. Really appreciate that. And unfortunately, didn't have really time to prepare anything for the EPI, so I'm just going to say all of this off the top of my head, and hopefully it makes sense. And if it doesn't, I apologize. But this past weekend, the Grid EPI, we had a few races that was going on. The European Le Mans Series raced at Mugello, and the winners in LMP2 were Jonas Reed, Maceo Capietto, and Matteo Caroli. And then in the P2 Pro-Am class, you have Rodrigo Salles, Matthias Betch, and Greg Saucy. In LMP3, the winners were Julian Gerby, Bernardo Pinheiro, and Gillian Henrion. And I apologize if I'm butchering these names. I didn't really have time to look up the correct pronunciation because it's been a not so good day for me. And then the winners in GT3 had Takeshi Kimura, Esteban Masson, and Daniel Serra taking that. And now looking at the race that happened in British GT at Brands Hatch, the winners of race 1 and race 2, Josh Cagill and Alex Buncombe, and then Ricky and Rob Collard. And DTM, they were over at the Red Bull Ring. The winner of race 1 was Mirko Bortolatti, and then the winner of race 2 was Rene Rast. And then ADAC GT Masters also at the Red Bull Ring. The winners of race 1 were Finn Wibbelhaus, then Yanez Fitte, and then the winner of race 2, Tom Callender and Elias Saponin there. And now looking at the Grid EPI top 10 there, still got Porsche factory drivers taking the top 3 spots with Andre Lauderer, Lars Van Thor, and Dan Cameron from Porsche Penske Motorsport. Then you have Multimatic Seb Prio and another Porsche Penske driver, and Kevin Hester ran out of the top 5, followed by 2 more Penske Porsche pilots and Felipe Nasr and Nick Tandy. Then you have Charlie Verts and Kenta Yamashita and Sho Tsuboi rounding out the top 10. And here's a look at the top 50 of the Grid EPI. And be sure to tune in next week for our next Grid EPI update. And now I'm going to go over the rest of the news that's happening around the motorsports world. Tim Slade will retire from full-time supercars competition at the end of the 2024 season. In his 15th year of racing in supercars up to now, he's competed in in 446 races, with his only 2 career wins coming at Winton in 2016. Slade is currently 19th in points, entering next weekend's Bathurst 1000, where he'll co-drive with Dunlop Super 2 Series regular Cameron McLeod. The 39-year-old Premier driver said he's proud to have spent this amount of time since 2009 competing at a top level in Australia, and he's looking forward to finishing his full-time racing career in the best way possible. According to supercars.com, possible replacements for Slade at Premier could be Mark Winterbottom, Richie Stanaway, or Scott Pye. Photo courtesy of Supercars. Miles Rowe will return to Indy next full-time in 2025 with Force Indy. However, Force Indy won't be partnered with HMD Motorsports next year. Able Motorsports instead will fill the number 99 car for Rowe in his second Indy next season. The team will be known as Able Motorsports with Force Indy. In his rookie year, Rowe had 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s, and finished 11th in the championship. Team principal Bill Abel said that they were immensely excited when they heard about the opportunity to fill the Force Indy entry for Rowe because of his progression as a driver, along with his personality and how he handles himself off the track. Graphic courtesy of Able Motorsports. A post-race penalty following the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championships TireRack.com Battle on the Bricks will have major implications on the GTP title battle. The number 6 Porsche from Porsche Penske Motorsport failed post-race inspection because of modifications to its wire and harness loom that was outside of homologation. That means the number 6 Porsche lost its podium result and got moved to 10th in the GTP class. This shakes up the championship race heading into the season finale. Motul Petit Le Mans behind their teammates in the number 7 Porsche. Now Tandy and Jomine are 124 points behind Felipe Nasr and Dane Cameron with only the 10-hour endurance race left in the 2024 season. Photo courtesy of Porsche Motorsport. The 2025 ARCA Menard Series schedule was unveiled at the end of last week. ARCA will have 20 races at 19 different tracks, with Kansas Speedway being the only track to appear twice for the first time in series history. The season opener at Daytona will air on Big Fox. The rest of the races will air on FS1 and FS2. And looking at some of the notable changes, ARCA will compete at Lime Rock Park toward the end of June. Then ARCA will return to Madison International Speedway on August 22nd. Once again, the 2025 season concludes on October 4th at Toledo Speedway, graphic courtesy of ARCA. Ty Dillon will return to the NASCAR Cup Series full-time in 2025. He'll drive the number 10 Chevrolet for Colleague Racing. In the car that will be renumbered from the number 31, he'll be teammates with AJ Allmendinger, who'll be in the 16. Team president Chris Rice said that they were excited to acquire the rights to the number 10 car with Stewart-Haas Racing's upcoming departure because they look forward to having familiarity and synergy across both series with the numbers 10 and 16 cars. Team owner Matt Collett said Dillon has done a great job for them this year in his part-time schedule and believes he'll be instrumental in them continuing their technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing, graphic courtesy of Colleague Racing. And with Dillon taking over what is now the number 31 team, it means Daniel Hemrick will be looking for a new home in 2025. And in the statement right here, Daniel Hemrick says, "Cup racing, the pinnacle of our sport. I will forever love and appreciate the process of what it takes to prepare both physically and mentally to compete on Sundays. However, I will not return to Colleague Racing in 2025 to continue that process. My family and I are sincerely grateful to Matt Colleague and Chris Rice, as well as everyone at Colleague Racing and Colleague Companies for welcoming me into their organization a few years ago and giving me the rare opportunity to get back to the top level of our sport. The desire to win on Sundays will always burn inside of me. I'm focused and full of intention to finish the last 7 races this season as strong as we can while continuing to continuing to build on whatever the next chapter of this journey holds for me." So right there from Daniel Hemrick, his response on moving on, and we'll see what's next for him. Longtime sports car driver Brian Sellers is expanding his involvement in the sport by becoming the program manager for DXDT Racing in GT World Challenge America. Sellers said he's excited to join DXDT full-time as his program manager because it allows him to continue driving at a high level while exploring other endeavors on the business side of the sport. And if you're just coming in wondering why I sound this way, I'm currently sick and I'm just doing the best I can to make it through the rest of this segment. I believe that I will, so please just bear with me, and hopefully I'll be back to normal next week. And moving on with the story, with Sellers moving into his new role, it means that he'll depart Paul Miller Racing in IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which plans to expand to a 2-car team next year in GTD Pro. At Paul Miller Racing, Sellers and his co-driver Madison Snow have experienced plenty of success, winning 13 races and getting 37 podiums together. Sellers said that while he's sad to leave a place that he's called home for nearly a decade, he's also excited about his new business opportunity ahead. Photo courtesy of DXDT Racing. Alpine F1 confirmed the end of his engine building program at the end of the 2025 season. We'll see the team downsizing because their F1 program is currently split between 2 different facilities, with the Enstone factory focusing on the chassis while their factory in France is mainly focused on the engines. The Alpine base in France won't produce engines after 2025, and the entire Alpine F1 program will operate out of the factory in the United Kingdom, that's Enstone. Although it hasn't been confirmed yet, many people expect Alpine to use Mercedes power units after the new regulations kick in 2026. Photo courtesy of F1. Caden Honeycutt will run full-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series next year. After running a part-time schedule this year, he'll compete for the championship in 2025, driving the number 45 Chevrolet Silverado for Nice Motorsports. So far in 10 starts this year, Honeycutt has finished in the top 10 in half of those starts. Honeycutt said before he connected with the team, he thought his racing career was over and credited Nice for taking a big chance on him. Team owner Al Nice said he expects the team to be competing for wins and championships next year with Honeycutt, graphic courtesy of Nice Motorsports. And after impressive runs and select starts this year, Junior Motorsports is promoting Carson Kroppel to the NASCAR Xfinity Series full time in 2025. Kroppel, he's going to replace Sam Mayer in the number one Chevrolet with Bass Pro Shops being his primary sponsor for 23 races. Starting with the season opener at Daytona, Bass Pro Shops will also sponsor Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2 late model races, 20 late model races for the JRM team as a whole, 20 micro sprint car races for Wyatt Miller, and they'll continue to work with Dirty Mo Media, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s media enterprise. Kroppel said it's great to have continued support from Johnny Morris because Bass Pro Shops have been behind him since the beginning of his JRM tenure, and it means a lot for that relationship to expand graphic courtesy of Junior Motorsports. And unfortunately, Josh, I didn't have time today to put this last part in the script, but I also wanted to note that another story that happened, I'm sure you've already seen it, what Formula E is going to be doing at the preseason test. They're going to require the teams to put at least one woman in each seat, which is going to be great for the sport. They're encouraging them to put 2 women, in the seat, but they only have to do one. But I just think that's a really great opportunity. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about that on a future episode of Women in Motorsports.
Kobe, you deserve a medal. I've literally, if anybody thinking that I was being mean and I've been sat down, I've been stood up ready to jump in if he needed me. And I've sent him 2 text messages saying, I'll do the rest. I'll take over. Stop
I just
talking.
saw him.
I felt so bad. I was here like, let me jump in.
I'm sorry, I did not see your messages.
It's all right. It's as long as you just rest now. That was amazing. Everybody deserves a medal. Adam says, hi guys, doing well here in North Carolina after the tropical storm Helen. Glad to see NASCAR teams helping out the victims in NC as well. And hopefully you're staying safe and everybody's staying safe as well. Thoughts with everybody. And as I said, the JB Motorsports team getting in as well, saying that you deserve an award for that battling illness for news. Wonderful, man. And feel better soon. Feel better real soon, Kobe. Big prayers as well, says Adam as well. Kobe,
thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Adam. And Adam, hope you're doing well. I know you live out there in Western North Carolina in the mountains, that got hit really hard by Hurricane Helene, and seeing a lot of horrible images coming out there. And there's still a lot we don't know about the situation in the mountains because so many communities there are still very hard to reach to. But we've seen so many people from all over the country go over to Western North Carolina, provide aid, cook hot meals, and just doing everything they can to try to clear the road so we can get people out. And it's just been so wonderful seeing everybody come together in a time of great tragedy for the North Carolina mountains.
It's a wonderful show of humanity, which I always enjoy seeing, that even though everybody can still be mean on social media or cruel and toxic, that at the heart of it, everybody does care and everybody will do every good thing to get help to everybody who needs it. It's absolutely fantastic. So we're going to do pick a winner now. Only one to choose from this event for tonight's show, and that's the MotoGP sprint race from the Japanese Grand Prix at Twin Wing Motegi. Now, after the previous race where Jorge Martin crashed out and Bagnaia won the sprint, it was the reverse on Sunday with Bagnaia going down, and up the order went Martin, taking his first win since the French Grand Prix. So once again, the gap now stands at 27 points. It's a yin and yang between the two with 5 to go, plus the sprints too. So, Kobe, starting with you, who's your pick a winner for the sprint race in MotoGP?
Like Joe and I were saying on the wrap-up show on Sunday when I was actually feeling better, we were basically saying that this is the championship in MotoGP that nobody wants to win. It's like Bagnaia doesn't want it, Martin doesn't want it, so like who's going to win the championship? It's just like a seesaw effect. One rider is good this race, and then the next race they're off. It's just really crazy to see, but I'm going to continue to ride with Jorge Martin and think he'll get the sprint race in Japan. And for the rest of this show, I'll shut up and let you take it home, Josh, with our hot knots and our closing.
Thank you, Kobe. You go and have a well-deserved rest as well. My pick a winner for the sprint race, I think it's going to have to be Enea Bastianini, just because how competitive he's been over the past couple of races as well. So that'll be my pick going in. Right, time for Hot or Not, sponsored by Insert Your Company Name here as well. Adam's also saying that the MotoGP sprint race will be Pecco Bagnaia. I wish I kept Megan in for this segment as well, but she's gone back up to work as well because she's at university. So on Wednesdays and Thursdays, she comes home and immediately sets to work so she can be free for the rest of the weekend. Plus, anyway, I'm going to be at Brands Hatch on Saturday and Sunday. So Megan's actually taking over the coverage for the sprint race. And I'll be back Sunday from a hotel room, waking everybody up at 4 a.m. So that's my weekend. What's yours? Sprints, well, let's go back. We had MotoGP, obviously, the Indonesia Grand Prix. Definite hot for me. What an amazing fan base MotoGP has over there in Indonesia. I know a lot of people watching, and a lot of people watching motorsport on YouTube come from Indonesia, certainly what the analytics say. And we just want to know that we appreciate each and every one of you. And hopefully you really enjoyed what was a great weekend as well. Definite hot then is going to be that. And I think also a hot for the weekend, the yin and yang in the championship, Marc Marquez being up there, and Airbus, he did so well on the Saturday and then failed on the Sunday as well. But I just want to also say, my other biggest hot for the weekend, I actually really enjoyed the NASCAR race. Got to admit, I really enjoyed that one. It was another... It went by quite quick. It was another classic. I enjoyed it. Knots, and there's a couple here. Let's start with the obvious. I'm going to go with Dorna, and specifically the race director. In Moto 2, this is a big knot, we had an accident where a rider was high-sided and laying on the side of the track at the exit of turn 2 on the racing line. Now, they were stationary for over a lap and only got pulled away. This is Juan Masia. He got pulled away by the marshals and while the bike was being recovered, while the riders were coming around for lap 2. That should have been an instant red flag. If a rider is lying in the racetrack, it should have been an instant red flag. It wasn't. It was abysmal. Juan Masia has actually gone to hospital. We're awaiting further news on his condition tomorrow when we get the press conference if he's going to be declared fit or not. We then had a 4-rider pile-up about an hour later at the start of the MotoGP. And that was even worse because the bikes were in the middle of the circuit and also where the riders were staying down. Again, no red flag and nothing. The safety in MotoGP is an absolute joke. It needs to get better. That's a big knot as well. Also, Juan Masia was lying motionless on the side of the circuit because he was winded. The medical car drove right by. What's the point of the medical car? Really not great. So MotoGP, big knot this week in terms of the safety for the riders as well. Going into it, big hot for this coming week for me, however, I am going to be trackside for the last time. And I'm going to try, depending on what it's going to be like, if we're still on when we go for the grid pre-race show on Saturday. That's going to be at noon Eastern, by the way. If I'm still at the track then, I will try and hop on for 5 minutes and give you the atmosphere of Brands Hatch on the start-finish straight because we'll be filming some intros for that as well. So stay tuned for some of that because we'll be trackside for the final race of the British Touring Car Championship. So get in for me. That's a big hot coming in. Let us know your hots and knots in the comments as well, if there's any. I'll pop my glasses on as well to come into it. Hopefully you've all enjoyed the NASCAR. Let us know your previews for this weekend because NASCAR going racing again at Talladega, and NASCAR have changed the era rules. So a little bit difference for flaps and that lot as well, and trying to prevent rollovers we saw last time out. So really it's going to be an interesting one, and you can take all of that in our upcoming schedule because Saturday Grid Live pre-race, that's going to be at noon Eastern. Sunday Grid Live wrap-up is going to be 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega. Monday Grid Encore recapping the truck and Xfinity races at Talladega, and that's also going to be including the ARCA West at the All-American Speedway as well. So that wraps it up for us here this evening on Grid Tonight. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for helping us reach the 1,000 subscribers milestone. Now we're well on the way to the road to 2,000. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air, and you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com as well. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David and Matthew who invest each month in the Grid Network, and we encourage you to join these fine folks to help us keep us on the air. Once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending out our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. The link to all that is in the video description. I myself will be at trackside this weekend for British Touring Cars. And yes, we will be sending over some interviews as well to put up on the Grid Network site. You can also make a one-time donation. You can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. You can get your name on the board and invest as much as you want. And you can consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air as well. And also we'll have a little bit of a wrap-up this time next week like when I was there for Media Day, we'll get the champions interview and get that sent over as well, and hopefully get it all sorted as well. So it's going to be absolutely brilliant. So wonderful show, wonderfully done as well. Kobe, you have been an absolute star to hang on for 50 minutes. You can now go and get a very much well-deserved break as well. For Kobe Lambeth, Megan Birch, and Matthew Owens, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night to you all.